I just added a huge key to my PC. Stay tuned to find out what I picked up. Welcome back, comic book fans. This is Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and in today's episode, we're going to go over some key comics that I just added to my PC. These are all part of my 2023 goals list, and one in particular is a huge key, and I'm going to save that one for the very end, so definitely stay tuned to the end of the video to find out what huge key that I ended up adding to the PC. But before we begin, definitely hit that like button, slap the subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on great content like this each and every week, Mondays and Fridays at 10 a.m. Now, let's get to the books. Now, all of the books today come from eBay, Comic Link, and Heritage Auctions. They are all graded except for one, and they are all part of my 2023 collecting goals minus 2. But that doesn't mean that those two are any less than the others. They are definitely worth getting. And as I said before, stay to the very end and you'll see the huge key that I ended up picking up from Heritage Auctions. It is a monster book, and one that is actually the #1 item on my 2023 goals list. Okay, so the very first two books I have, both come from eBay. They are auction wins, and they are part of a project that I had started. It's a small project, but it is a fun little project, and I look forward to trying to complete this at some point. Let me show you what I've got. I've got issues 81 and 82 of Marvel Comics Presents. So this is part of the Weapon X storyline from Barry Windsor Smith. He did the artwork to this, and from issues 72 through 84. Now I've got 72 and a couple others as 84s that I ended up cleaning and pressing myself and getting them in the CGC and getting them back. I've had some failures on this. I got some issues, including probably a couple like this, that I couldn't get above that 9.6. And this is a series that, to have any real value, you've got to have 9/8 on it, including that issue number 72. The rest of them, if they fall into 9.6s, can be, most of them will fall under that $100 value and may not even be worth spending the time to and the money to get them graded. But as 9.8s, they all have some good value. But on these two particular issues, I ended up doing an eBay search for auctions on these items, and what I found was I ended up getting them vastly underpriced to current market value. Most of the current market value is going to put this in at $100 to $125, maybe $135. These are not necessarily big books in that series. In fact, the only ones that really have significant value, as far as I can tell, is 9.8s are 72 and 79. And the other ones are all very good, and I've seen people asking crazy amounts for buy it nows on these 9.8s, but I'm just content on this project to sit back, let people list it, and especially look for auction style bids on eBay where maybe it's a low starting price and you can snag one for a reasonable price. And I think I did both of this. Both of these were well under market value. I paid well under $100 for each one of these. So definitely good value, and definitely a fun little project to do to try to complete this run of all these issues. So the next three books on my list all come from Comic Link, and it's been a few months since I've bid on anything from Comic Link. I find that I end up getting most of my graded books from Heritage Auctions. I find their auction style a lot easier to follow and to look for various books, where while Comic Link, you've kind of got to know what you're looking for, and the timing on these auctions can vary, unlike the auctions from Heritage Auctions, which ends up, the ones I look for are on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday nights. So I went back to Comic Link and I was looking for some keys. I definitely work on some projects, and I've talked about those. I'm working on a complete run of Kraven's Last Hunt as a 9.8. But another one that I've been working on as a 9.8 series is the Batman Year One. And at one point I had three of the four issues as 9.8. I had 9.6s on the fourth one, and that issue was issue 407. And I've got some in the shop ready to send it back in the CGC. But when I went to Comic Link, I ended up finding one that was being bid on, and I'll show it to you because I've got it. It's issue 407, the last of the Batman Year One by Frank Miller and Dave Mazzarelli. And I didn't have it, and I felt like this, I ended up getting this for a pretty good price. It's about a little bit under fair market value right now. And I figured, okay, look at this market, guys. This market right now, you can go out there and you can find your graded books pretty, I wouldn't say easily, but you can find a lot of your graded books under value. And I think you're going to find today, this video especially, you're going to see some books on Comic Link and on Heritage Auctions especially that are undervalued, under fair market value, and sometimes by hundreds of dollars. So I wouldn't say this one I got for under hundreds of dollars. It's not that expensive, but I definitely got it for under market value right now. So you would say, hey, great, Russ, you completed your run. Well, I did. At one point, the only one I needed was this issue as a 9.8. I had the other three. Well, I ended up, I had multiple copies of issue 404, the first one, and I ended up selling one, and I forgot to take it off of another selling platform, because I also sell on, not just on eBay, but I also sell on Shortboxed. And what do you know? Well, I guess I had sold it on Shortboxed, and then I forgot to take it off of eBay, and it sold again. Well, that issue had already, I was only going to sell one of them. Well, I went ahead and contacted the buyer and I said, hey, look, I've got another 9.8. It's not the exact one that you're going to see. So if you look it up, it's still a 9.8. It's still the same issue, but it's just it's a different copy, different certification number, obviously. Was he going to be cool with that? And he was. So I ended up sending my personal copy of 404 out. So now I'm back to needing, again, one issue to complete this run of 4 issues of 9.8. I still need to get 404. Now, luckily, I've got multiple copies in the shop that have been cleaned and pressed. In fact, one of the best ones I just sent down to CGC for the Frank Miller signing. So I'm hoping to get that back. I'm really going to keep my fingers crossed on that. Sometimes they can be tough, but I've got hopes that that'll come back in 9.8. At the very least, the 9.6, which will be nice because it's signed, but still, I long for that 9.8 to complete this run. The second book I ended up getting from Comic Link was a classic book that I never owned, but I've always known about. And if I hadn't been looking for that Batman 407 on Comic Link, I wouldn't have stumbled across this one. And let me show it to you. It is Batman Adventures Mad Love, the classic Harley Quinn, early Harley Quinn. And it is by Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, just absolutely the creators. It's fantastic. What a great issue. Probably this is one that should be in everybody's collection. It's just a great book. And it hadn't been on the radar, but as I said, I found it. I stumbled on it when I was searching through for Batman 407. And yes, maybe I should have held out for a 9.6. But here I am finding really good books, even at 9.6, that I think is still really good. And well under market value. You can go look up the market values, and I tell you, I paid less than that. And I'm not getting into prices today, what I paid and everything. Just know that if you look up fair market values on any of these books today, let's put it this way, I paid well under on just about, actually on every book in here, I paid under market value. And that's kind of the point of today's episode, is to talk about finding great books right now that are already graded that you want for your PC. Go look at these sources, Comic Link, Heritage Auctions, and sometimes even on eBay. Look for those auction-style listings on eBay. Sometimes you can find some really good deals. You don't just have to look at the buy it nows on there. So this is what I did on this one. I found this book, and I'm going, wow, I really wouldn't mind having this on the PC. And someday, if I find Rawls or find another copy at 9.6, I'll upgrade. But it'll be great to have it in the PC, and it's definitely a book that I may end up giving to my daughter later and for Christmas, because she is a huge Harley Quinn fan. And if she watches the episode, she may end up, I'll spoil the surprise. But otherwise, if she doesn't watch the episode, she'll definitely be surprised. This is a good test. Jess, if you're watching, you may get this for Christmas. I don't know yet. So we'll find out if she actually comments to me on that. But real happy to have this on the PC. A classic book. It's a great foundational comic book. And so I ended up misspeaking a moment ago. I said that there were 3 books from Comic Link. There were only 2, the 2 I just showed. The third book that I thought was part of that order actually came off of eBay, just like the very first 2. Actually, it was a buy it now that I put in a really good offer for. And it is definitely probably the main project that I work on in terms of collecting goals. And it's not just a 2023 goal, it is an overall goal. It is my main collecting thing that I do these days. It is part of that X-Men, collecting John Byrne X-Men issues 108 through 143, including 110, which I think was just Dave Cochran. But let me show it to you. I picked up a copy of issue 132, part of that Dark Phoenix saga, and it's probably one of the less expensive books in there. But I ended up picking this up because I was looking for one on Heritage Auctions a few weeks ago, and I knew I had already found this book on eBay, and I saw what the price was, and I saw what I wanted to pay for this book on Heritage Auctions, and I said, well, I'm going to get it for Heritage Auctions. I know how much the buyer's premium, the taxes, the fees, and everything, what that book should go for versus what I could get this book for. And I'll get it off Heritage Auctions because I've got other books there on that same order. But if it goes overpriced, I probably will just go get this book. It's pretty much the same book, same grade. So ended up on Heritage Auctions, the price went over what this book you could actually buy it for, and I ended up sending a buy it now for a few more dollars off. So I got this definitely under the market value for what the other one sold on Heritage by a lot, actually. Not hundreds or anything like that, but it was a better deal off of eBay, especially with that buy it now. But I'm real happy to have this. We continue to knock down these John Byrne X-Men in a 9.6 or 9.8 if I can get them. And again, real happy to have this in the PC. All right, so the remaining books all come from Heritage Auctions, and these were all books that came from multiple auction wins over the last month. They didn't come in one order, and these are all great books that fit into the theme of what I'm talking about today, finding great books at really good grades for under market value, and sometimes, and a couple of these, definitely hundreds of dollars less than what the fair market value is. And that's what I'm finding in today's market, is that you're seeing a lot of movement of books, but I'm thinking you're finding them at less expensive prices in a lot of cases. In fact, I think the raws are getting a little more expensive, and some of these graded books you can find some deals. Be a little bit more selective, guys. You don't have to get every book every second that it comes out. You can search around, and that's the beauty of these projects that I work on, is that I can sit back a little bit and wait for it to come to me more than me just going out there all the time and just spending and overspending. So these were definitely some good deals. And let me show you first book I picked up, and this is X-Men 141. And the classic John Byrne first issue of Days of Future Past. You've got this fantastic cover. In fact, this cover, I remember doing a recreation in pencil back when I was a senior in high school. It struck me so much, and I still have that illustration to this day. It's still down in my West Virginia home. If at some point I go back down, I may pull it out and show you some of the artwork, some of the recreations I used to do, and some of the artwork I used to do. But fantastic issue. This is a tough issue with that dark purple border, and sometimes you'll end up with dog ears that show up, especially out here where it just will pick it up. It's so dark, and it picks it up really easy. This 9.6 is a fantastic copy. It's a copy that really, to me, almost ends up being at 9.8, but I'm super happy to have this as a 9.6. I do have a few rolls of this in the PC that are cleaning and pressing currently, and with hopes of trying to get this 9.6 or 9.8 even. And this will definitely be a good comp. I can pull this one out next to the other ones, and I can compare the condition of the other ones right to this one right here, because we know this is at least a 9.6, right? It is a 9.6. So one of my favorite covers, and definitely happy to have this in the PC. You guys are going to get tired of me saying that. The seventh book that I ended up picking up from Heritage Auctions is one that wasn't on my radar, and it's not graded. It's the one raw book that I've got today. And it was one that I've just happened to be watching the auction early as I was waiting for some of the ones that I had been tracking. And I looked at it and I'm going, that looks like a pretty good price for a raw. And again, I'm not going to get into prices, but I'm going to show you the book, and really excited to have this. It's going to be the earliest issue I have in this run by far. And I ended up picking up a raw copy of issue number 11 of The Amazing Spider-Man. And the earliest issue I ever had in Spider-Man was issue, I believe is issue 32, that I picked up a year ago. That one was as raw as well, because graded, even low grade graded books for Spider-Man, especially this early, are very expensive. But I felt like this one was falling under the radar a little bit. It is a good plus copy. It has a lot of color breaks up here, and what I'll say to this is I think this will benefit a little bit from a nice clean and press. It is very wrinkly up in this area especially, and I think it's going to benefit from that. I obviously can't get rid of the color breaks, but it is definitely one that's, it's nice to have a really old Spider-Man like this. And I'm excited to see what this will end up coming back graded. Again, I never had any of these old issues of Spider-Man. It just wasn't on my radar. And it wouldn't have been this time if I hadn't been watching the value, the price not really go up that much. And I think if you watch when I say today's, the episodes of Heritage Auctions, these comic book auctions they have every week, they've expanded it into 3 days now. It used to be one day, then they went to Mondays or Sundays and Mondays, and now they've split it up into a 3-day auction, and it isn't just a straight alphabetized beginning to end auction with whatever they've got. They've got it split up into different categories. I think you've got mostly Golden Age on Sunday, you've got Silver Age on Monday, and I think the rest of everything's on, the more modern books are on Tuesday. And I think what's happening is you got people who can't watch these auctions all the time. That's a lot of time to invest to watch into these. So I think some of these books are definitely falling under the radar because you've got I guess you would have a more limited audience just because you can't have everybody watching all the time. So I think you can take advantage of finding books like this, especially some raws like this that, yeah, I don't know how many people want to buy a good plus copy of this, but I felt like it was a good price, and so I ended up picking it up. And again, it's going to benefit from a nice press. There's not going to be too much cleaning on this, but the press, just to get the book flattened out nicely, I think will make it very presentable, and couldn't be happier to have this in the PC too. Now, the next book is still a Heritage Auctions book. It is on my want list. It is part of my 2023 goal. It's a book I already own, and it's very low on my list, but it is on the list, and it is to upgrade my current grade to a better grade. And here, let me show you the book. It is issue 67 of Fantastic Four. The first cameo appearance of him, who becomes Adam Warlock, and is part 2 of the Hive storyline that started the issue prior, which is one of my all-time favorite Fantastic Four comic books, with that beautiful Thing and Alicia Masters cover. It's absolutely my favorite Fantastic Four from Jack Kirby book. But this one I was never quite as excited about. I never quite liked this cover, but this is a hot book, and it's been hotter before, but we're going to see Adam Warlock come to the MCU. We've already seen the photos and the pictures in the previews. We know he's going to be in this film. So we'll see how much hotter this book can actually get. I think we've probably already seen the peak, really. We'll see what happens to that character in that film, and depending on that, this book may actually go down in value after the movie. But fantastic story. I will tell you, I talk about these 2 issues in particular compared to today's comics. Stan and Jack put so much into these 2 issues, 67 66 and 67 that it's just blows away most every comic book that you find out there in today's comics. The amount of storytelling they could do in 2 issues versus what you find in the current Avengers or Spider-Man, it's pretty much, today's work is garbage for the most part. And I hate to say it like that, but who can follow what the hell's going on in today's comics? I mean, unless you're a younger person who has grown up with those particular creators and these particular storylines, I mean, I guess I'm just getting old and crankety. So get off my yard, everybody. Go buy issues 66 and 67. These are great foundational comic books to have in your PC. And what did I tell you? This right here is a 6.0, as you can see by the grade. It is an upgrade from my 5.5. It's not much of a jump. And again, I found this on Heritage Auctions at a good price. It is well under market value for a 6.0. You can go collect right now. You can see what the fair market value is, and you can find some other sales recently, and this is definitely well below those sales. So happy to upgrade in my collection. I'm going to have a 5.5 available for sale at some point on my eBay store or my Instagram page, but definitely happy to have this right now as a 6.0. I will continue to upgrade this book as we go along, and maybe at this point I will wait till after the Guardians movie comes out to see where the market goes on this. Now, if you've stuck around to the end, you get to see the very last book, the one I teased at the beginning of the video, the huge key that I finally added to my PC. In fact, this is the #1 book on my 2023 goals list. It is a big key and is one I'm super happy to get. And this is one, when I talked about earlier about finding under market value, this is one that I've bought from Heritage Auctions for hundreds of dollars less than what the fair market value is right now. I jumped on this and I was super happy to win this. Let me show it to you. It is X-Men 101, the first appearance of Phoenix. I can't believe I finally got this on my PC, especially at a great price. Now, a lot of you, if you watched my last few episodes, you know that I went to one of my favorite LCSs for their big Easter sale. In fact, I did a pre-video where I did a recon mission and was spotlighting some of the books I was interested in. And they had this right here. In fact, I put that as the lead on that episode. This is one of the books I was looking at, but their price was outrageous. And I will tell you, that book was maybe just a little bit better than this. Not much. But they were asking, it was $1,000 comic as a raw, and with their percentage off, it was going to be $700. I just felt like that was even a little bit better than this. I think it was still a reach. It was still a graded price, not a raw price. But I found this on Heritage Auctions. I was spotlighting this, and I think this one suffered in price, because there were a couple other issues that were more desirable. You had a 9.4 and I think a 9.0 that were going in that same auction. And this was at least the third book in that, and I think this one just kind of fell under the radar a little bit, being a little bit less desirable. But for me, this was a great entry comic to buy on this, and good grade to start off with. I will definitely look to upgrade down the road, but again, now I'm going to be a little bit more picky about the book that I buy and to get graded. I will still look for raws, and I will definitely look for deals for the graded, but I'll probably at this point have to look for raws that I can find at a good price that I can clean and press and try to get some pressable defects out and then get it up and get it graded. That's probably the way I'm going to have to upgrade at this point, because this is not a cheap book. But this book right here was fantastic. Again, look up the Go Collect fair market value. You can even look at some recent sales, and this one right here, hundreds of dollars less than the last few sales that you're going to find either on eBay or even Heritage Auctions. So I am super happy to have this. When Alex, the comic book hoarder, talks about foundational comic books, there's a lot of books that you can have a lot of foundation, guys. They can be different things to different people. But I think when you get into books like this right here, you're starting to actually have some meaningful foundational comics right here. Great cover. I've never owned this. And in fact, it's funny. I had Giant Size X-Men 1, issues 94, 95, when I was a kid, and I kind of dropped off the X-Men all the way until you got to the John Byrne stories in with Arcade in issues 123. There was a lot of good books that I ended up missing along the way. For a couple years. I just wasn't into. I think I had gotten a little bit older, and I wasn't going to town with my mom quite as much on Saturday mornings when she would make her grocery store run or the drugstore run, and that drugstore is where the comic books were. So I wasn't going with her every week and picking up comic books every week like I had when I was much younger. So I had missed out on this book, and this is the first time I've ever owned this. But we will continue looking for better copies of this, but now it's kind of checked off. The number one item on my list has been checked off. Yes, we would want it better, but for right now, I'm very satisfied with a 7.5. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching. I definitely put a big dent in my 2023 goals list with this haul. It is some great books. I'm happy to have every one of these. But let me know what you think about the books by leaving me a comment in the comment section below. My big takeaway from today is that there are definitely some deals to be had for some of these graded books that you may want in your PC. If you look on Comic Link and Heritage Auctions, I think that there are a lot of books out there. The market's moving, but I think the prices on some of these has dropped. While some of the other books may be going up, I think some of these have been slipping through the cracks a little bit. And every one of these today I found at deals that I felt like I just couldn't pass up. And I'm happy with every one of them. And thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you taking time out of their day to watch the episode and to definitely leave comments. We're going to go over some more great books on Monday, so I hope you will join me then. And remember, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Shortboxed, and eBay to find some of the books that I have for sale. I have a lot of my slab books for sale. Some of them I don't. This one is not for sale right now, guys. And if you're ever interested in any of those, just reach out to me, especially on Instagram. Instagram's the easiest way, as well as yahoo.com. I keep the address right here, guys. I always have the email address right there. You can reach me that way or DM me on Instagram. It's the two best ways to ever get in touch with me. If you ever find a book, especially on eBay, reach out to me. If you see a book on eBay, I'll pull it off and we can make a better deal than you're going to find on eBay. Their fees are just so high, but definitely I will negotiate and we'll find a way to get you that book. And that's it. I'm through rambling for the day. Thank you again for watching, and remember, guys, every comic has a story.